The technology itself has gotten to a point where these models can be trained on tons and tons of data. And this was not possible before. There was actually an unlock in the last year that allowed these models to be trained on significantly more data. And that's what allowed these models to get more realistic as well and get down to the nooks and crannies of these different personas that you're talking about, right? In fact, Hyperbound in specific, we've actually trained our models on nearly 2.2 million hours of sales calls across a variety of different industries and personas. And you'll be surprised, man, when you go onto Hyperbound and set up a bot, you can build a scientist persona in a matter of 3 minutes, and it's scary real.
Hey, Sai, welcome to the show. Good to have you here.
Awesome. Excited to be on here, Harrison. It's been a long time coming. I know we've been talking for a year now, and I'm glad I'm finally on here.
Yeah, I know one of the reasons we originally got connected is because you guys have a platform that does your sales role playing, sales coaching, leveraging AI, sort of all of the different passions that I have, specifically around sales, AI, role playing, coaching, all of these types of things, training. And so I think it's just like a really good fit to have this conversation, have you on, and just sort of talk about, how you built Hyperbound, why you built it. So yeah, we'd love to dive into that. But before we do, we always kick off every episode with a crazy or funny story that's happened in your career.
Awesome. Interesting. Crazy or funny story. It's interesting. I actually just made a post about this the other day, but it was my birthday not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, and my co-founder decided to get me a doll for my birthday. And it turned out to be, this massive LeBron doll. As I swear it was like, foot long, and now it just sits on my desk in the office. And he got it because, I'm a huge LeBron fan in general. I've been following him my entire career, and he's kind of like a role model for me. And I thought that was pretty funny because it wasn't even like a regular LeBron doll. It had like a varsity jacket, and it looks pretty cool. I did not expect him to get something like that. And now everyone just walks by my desk and they're like, "Where did you get this?"
Nice. Would it be like a fruit doll, or is it like a bobblehead type of thing?
No. It's like a big doll. Like it's like this big.
Wow.
We need to clarify some points for the non-US listeners. There's two things we need to clarify here. By doll, he means stop doing the balloons. By doll, he means figure. We only call dolls in the UK the ones that like little girls play with that have the pigtails and all that.
Oh yeah.
Right. So you mean a sports figure model, right? And it's LeBron. He plays the bouncy one, right?
Exactly. He plays basketball. Yeah, one of the greatest basketball player I know.
Oh, that's too funny.
Clarification.
Yeah, I heard some story. I was listening to, I think, the My First Million podcast, and one of the guys on that show got a like life-size version of Devin Booker, maybe. Yeah, like that.
Oh, really? That's crazy.
Wild. Yeah, it's like one of a kind. Bought it. Like, yeah, just crazy story. So apparently, this is becoming like more and more of a thing. He's like,
Oh yeah, maybe a couple months from now, maybe next year, I'll get a life-size version. But this is just the starting point.
yeah, where do you put that? Imagine bringing that. Imagine bringing that back to your wife. So yeah, that's what I just bought.
I'd rather have a lifestyle version of Shaq.
Yeah, that'd be.
Oh, that's even crazier. Yeah.
All right. Well, getting on track. So why don't you give us all a little background? Maybe the founding story behind Hyperbound. What do you guys do? Get some context for everybody, and then we could dive into the full discussion.
For sure. Yeah. So a little bit of background on myself. So my name is Sriharsha. I go by Sai. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO here at Hyperbound. Been running the company for nearly 18 months now. By background, I'm actually a conversational AI engineer. And people are probably wondering, what the hell is a conversational AI engineer? Totally fair, right? Conversational AI engineer, really what that means is I spent the last decade along with my co-founder building these AI models and trying to get them to be as realistic and human-like as possible, right? To the point where, you can't even distinguish, is this AI or is this human? And every day this technology just keeps getting better and better. And it's funny because everyone talks about ChatGPT like it's this thing that just came out of nowhere, right? Like overnight. Believe it or not, there were iterations of it that existed nearly a decade ago when my co-founder and I started. And it's just gotten better and better and better every year. And now it's at a point where you're able to have real life human conversations with this AI. And that's exactly what we're trying to build at Hyperbound is really trying to use this technology in a very specific manner that allows salespeople to practice their skills. So the idea is it's AI sales role play. So, the AI will pretend to be a client or a prospect, and reps can practice role playing with this AI. And it's like a voice, it will talk to you back and forth. And it's really interesting because, it will coach you on where you did well, where you could have improved. And it's like a, personal AI coach, essentially.
That's awesome. Because I know when you're onboarding new reps, there's like really like two ways that it kind of happens that I see it in the wild. As one, you just throw them in on calls and have them listen to other reps. One,
Yep.
you don't know if those other reps are actually that good. Right. So that could be an issue. And then they're just picking up bad habits right out of the gate. Or you have a manager who does some of these role plays with you. And that's, I think, a a luxury. Like, not many managers are actually going to take the time to sit down and go through all of those role plays, these different scenarios, and troubleshoot all this stuff with you to really help you hone your pitch and whatnot. And so I think it's really interesting what you guys are building, and you're really needed, to be honest.
Yeah, I think another alternative is that actually you keep recording the calls, right? In the hope that you'll get bound to reviewing them. So many people will say, oh, we're going to record calls because we want them for sales training. We're going to review them and then we're going to give you feedback. And then I've been a sales leader for years, and you have the intention of doing it, but it's always something that can wait because it's not time dependent and you never really get around to that. So to have this like instant feedback, I think is really critical.
Absolutely. That's what I tell everyone that tries the role play is like as soon as the role play finishes, like you're talking like within 30 seconds, you have detailed coaching feedback on every part of the call,
Mhm.
right? And for a manager to be able to do the same thing, it could take them up to like 45 minutes to an hour. Just you got to actually listen to the entire call and write thoughtful notes and then have suggestions, and that's just not going to happen. And it's there's actually a stat out there. Managers spend 5% of their time coaching, and 60% of managers will actually admit to that. So
Most
yeah, that's where the industry's at.
most managers actually say they don't coach. That's fact.
Yeah, like there was a survey done. I forgot which org again, but yeah, I mean most managers admit that they just don't have time for it and they're not doing it enough.
And I would guess
Is that like,
I
oh,
was gonna say, I guess the ones that admit that are actually the ones that are doing it 10% of the time, is the ones that won't admit it, the ones that don't do it at all. So actually the number's slightly skewed, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's interesting that you say that, because what is probably your biggest leverage point that you could have as a manager is
Yeah.
coaching your reps to have them be more successful, have them be better, and then generate more revenue from it. And it's like, I think we have people get in. There are a subset of people that get into management because they don't want to sell anymore. They don't want to be on like the front lines. They kind of like, would rather sit back and be like the dashboard manager and just like look at the numbers and try and like dissect things that way. But then you really can't get into, well, one, you just get disconnected from like how your reps are actually performing. And two, like the reps, every rep needs coaching. Like, even if you're a top performing rep, like there's always something that you can get better at, whether it's from like big challenge to do something more or what, but like everybody can always improve. And I think that there's just this aversion to coaching, and just like people thinking it's so, I don't want to say a waste of time, but it's a time sink that where they could be better spent time doing other things like creating
But I
something.
think this is where the I like, we've been talking about LeBron already, right? And sports. I like the sports analogy here because it's one of the only industries that sees coaching as a continual thing. Even the best rep, there's no difference between the worst and the best rep. They both need the same amount of coaching because there's still those incremental gains, even if you're at the top. I realized that when I read a story a while ago about the top surgeon in the world who thought, oh, I'll get someone to come review me. And he was an older surgeon from years ago, and he thought he was going to just come in and give him a load of green ticks. When he was like, actually, did you realize when you was doing something, the light just slightly swang out of your view? So then you was working in the dark. And he's like, I didn't even notice that. And he's like, the point of a coach is to just pick up on these tiny details to make incremental change.
Absolutely.
And I think that's something we miss. We think we're a finished article.
Yeah, and like the other thing I think that gets downplayed a lot, Nick, is everyone thinks coaching is like this generic thing where you watch a couple of videos, you get some feedback and you're good to go. It's like a one and done thing. But the reality is coaching is there's always contextual coaching, right? Like think about like Steph Curry, for example, right? He's the greatest shooter in the world. And he still shoots free throws every day, and he still has a coach that's telling him, what plays they should execute during the game, right? You would think a guy that's, he's a point guard, he's one of the smartest players in the game. Why does he need a coach, helping him execute plays, right? But the thing is, it's just, the coach's job is it's not just about like individual plays, it's about the entire bigger picture, right? Like how do we actually accomplish the larger goal together? So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think there's like another version that I hear a lot about coaching, which is for the reps, where they kind of view it as like criticism. And so reps are scared to like record calls. They're scared to like have these like coaching conversations. And I think it's because call it coaching is done in this like very formulaic and formula driven manner, where it's like, I noticed you did this, and so next time do this, or it's like, when you said this, you should say this next time, versus having something more like in the moment, or even rather than like reactive coaching, where it's like after the call, you could even do something proactive coaching. How are you going to prep for this call? What are all the things you're going to think about? So that way, when you're on the call, you're fully prepared. And it's less about this like critiquing and more about like guiding and helping and in the moment providing that guidance versus having it feel like this post-mortem, from a manager. And I think that's where some of that can come from. And so it's interesting to be able to have this like postmortem come from AI, because then it's like now you have this unbiased party. Like, I'm not going to get pissed at the AI for its feedback. It's like, well, clearly you got good at it, right? I might disagree with it, but I think it's really interesting to have this like objective third party that doesn't have feelings be providing this sets of feedback.
Yet.
yeah, I think the key word there is unbiased, right? Like objective, unbiased, right? Those are the words that come to mind. When we first started Hyperbound, Harrison, that was actually one of the biggest concerns that everyone had. They're like, oh, like, our reps going to use this, right? Are they going to take it seriously? And here's what we've learned, man. Like reps take this more seriously than they ever took their manager's feedback seriously. And the reason is because AI takes the emotion out of the picture, right? Like if I'm a manager, like it's tiring to go to my rep after every call, do the classic compliment sandwiches. I do like 3 or 4 compliment sandwiches. And by the time I get to the 5th one, it's like, okay, like, can I just give you what you need to work on? Like, I don't want to do this whole compliment sandwich thing. Because, they feel like they're forced to do that because they don't want the rep to hate them, right? The nice part about AI is it doesn't care if you're a top performer, doesn't care if you're a bottom performer, doesn't care if you're nice or kind or mean. It will give you the same feedback no matter what. In fact, we always say AI is not judging you, it's just scoring you, right? There's no emotion in the picture, and I think reps are so much more willing to take feedback from it, which is also why our adoption has been through the roof compared to what a lot of people predicted in the early days when we first started deploying Hyperbound.
I think it's the safe space too, right? It's like a rep can go and do this without feeling the pressure. Like if I don't know, I'm sure if I wanted to like load it up and be like, okay, I'm going to go through my objection handling this morning. I'm just going to like, load it up. Maybe I could test a few different objections, test how I would respond. And that's like my, warm up for the day. But I imagine this is like, you can use it in these bite-sized formats. So it doesn't have to be this, hey, I'm going to practice a 30-minute full conversation, right? I'm sure you can, really get tactical with how you decide you want to do these things too.
But like just to touch on the emotion thing, I think part of it comes from when we do our most coaching as leaders as well, right? So I can tell you the single time I know I was coached and I was coached quite successfully was at the very early stages in my career. I was put on a PIP, performance improvement plan. And I was coached to an inch of my life because in the UK, you can't just get rid of someone. If you put them on a PIP, you have to show that you actually tried to change it, right?
Mm.
So I had a meeting 3 times a week to look at what I said I was going to do and see if I did it, etc., etc., etc. Fast forward 8 months, I actually got promoted, right? There was a reason I was not performing. But, not to get to the long story, message me, I'll tell you the whole story if you want. But I was coached the best I've probably ever been coached because of negative behavior. And we link those two things.
Yeah, no, I think it's super underrated. There's actually a stat as well that says, coaching actually improves win rates by 27%. The problem is it's just not done enough because, yeah, I mean, most reps, they forget most of what they're taught within the first month of learning it. As soon as you give them
Right.
like a video or a PowerPoint, yeah, as much as a day, right?
Yeah.
No, and yeah, I think there's never, and you can't blame them. There's never been a way to really practice those skills. It's always been trial by fire in sales, right? Just jump in, practice on prospects, and learn as you go, right? And you're gonna burn some, and that's okay. That's what they've been taught, but that is changing, right? And I think we live in a world where you can go into that very first call fully prepared and the best version of yourself.
Yeah, one of my favorite column influencers I like to follow when it comes to like sales leadership coaching is KD, Kevin Dorsey. And like he has that line, the practice on prospects. I'm like, it's so good. It's like practice on purpose, don't practice on prospects. And I think this is like a perfect example of creating an environment, whether you use Hyperbound or whatever, right? The whole point is like you need to be coaching and you need to like practice in a like real world environment before you just get thrown into the game, right? The teams practice all the time. The best players in the world, they practice all the time. It's like Steph Curry shoots probably 1,000 free throws a week, right? Like they do this stuff to make sure that then in game time, they are able to perform at their peak. But for some reason, we think that in sales, we can just show up and wing it and hope for the best. And it's like, I don't understand like where this disconnect lies, but it's so interesting to just, think about this problem.
Right, right. Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned KD because he is one of our customers at Finally, and he uses Hyperbound with his team, and he's actually, his team is probably the highest user of Hyperbound that we've ever seen. Just because of the amount of, yeah, they really stress practicing every day. They have warm up set up on the platform. They make sure their reps are going in on a weekly cadence at least to practice certain situations or objections over and over again. Like he set up a really structured process, and the thing is, the reps love it. A lot of reps will also come in on the weekends and practice on Hyperbound, believe it or not. So, like when as a leader you give your reps that space and you give them a structure, they will follow it because, and if they're not, then they're not meant to be there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cultural thing. I mean, if you have a culture of constant improvement, of coaching, of wanting to get better, then everybody around you is going to want that thing. Is going to want that. They're going to do it, and so then everybody's going to want to get better. They're going to want to improve. They want to spend the time to make that happen. But if you're and this can be a challenge, right? It's like if you think that you can just all of a sudden, I'm sure this was buy Hyperbound, roll it out to your team and think it's going to work, it probably won't, right? Like you have to have like the culture of training, of coaching, of personal development, like embedded into the org. And I don't know if that's a hurdle for people. I'm sure it kind of is, coming into it where there's and maybe it's you run business in your sales process where it's like, yeah, this sounds really cool. I would love to do it, but nobody's going to do it because it's not part of our culture or something. And it's just, I think that's just such a bad excuse for saying we're not going to perform as well as we could because, we don't feel like it.
Yeah, and this reminds me of a funny story. I recently ran into a CRO who, basically their SVP of sales, huge fan of Hyperbound. He had built a whole business case around it. We ran a POC. with over 100 of their reps, by the way. And, it was a huge success. Their enablement team was fully bought in. And, we had built this like bulletproof business case, went to the CRO and presented it to him. And the first thing he said when he saw it was, so why wouldn't I just give all my reps a bottle of wine, just put it on their desk? Wouldn't that accomplish the same thing? Right? Because he was like, if it's a confidence problem, I'm sure wine will do the job.
Oh,
Right?
it's a phrase. You have it in the US, and we say Dutch courage, right?
Dutch courage, exactly.
You drink alcohol, it gives you Dutch courage. I don't know why that phrase comes out, but yeah.
Right.
Probably.
But I think the crazy part for me was he was dead serious because he was like, why would I have my reps do quote unquote non-revenue generating activities when I could just put a bottle of wine and have them on the phones instead? Right. And I was on the call. I did not know what to say. I was like, how do I end this call right now?
Wow.
But this is the problem. People see coaching and sales training as non-revenue generating activity. Whereas I see it as the opposite. Because if you increase your win rate by 10% because of training and coaching, that has just made more revenue. So it is revenue generating activity. It's just not directly associated.
Right. No, it's all about perspective, right? And some of the and not surprisingly, that particular company, their SVP, left about 2 months later, right after that, and their head of enablement left, right, a month later, and yeah, their entire sales leadership has changed. So, it's not surprising. People don't realize, coaching is the best way possible to improve your reps. Or they think the solution is, hey, just replace the entire team, get brand new people, and hopefully it works. But the amount of time and money you waste, hiring new people and onboarding them, you could be spending that time actually upskilling someone, and they could be generating revenue for you in that period of time.
Perfect example. If you have to let the team go and hire new people, you're paying recruiter fees on all those new people that you're going to hire. You're going to have to pay probably new comp. They're probably going to ask for more money than the previous team. All of these sort of expenses are going to be hidden into this. If you don't coach the team, people are going to leave, and then you're going to have to go through this too. So like, okay, or why don't we just spend some money on training and coaching and developing to make the team better? Right? It's like that saying is, what if we train everybody up and they leave? And then it's like, well, what if we don't train them and they stay? Right? You sort of mentality. It's like, if you don't train them and they stay, you're just stuck with, underperforming reps on a regular basis. This is not what you're looking for. One question I would love to hear from you is, maybe hyperbound aside, how do you see companies set up these structured coaching programs? Like, I'm sure there's like a piece of which hyperbound fits into that process, but I imagine it's more of like a piece of the overall coaching program and enablement type of program. So how do you see like companies that roll out these sort of initiatives? Have you seen them do it well versus the ones that don't do it well?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I think it starts with the culture, like you said, Harrison. Right. First of all, you need to believe that practice and coaching is worth it, and so do your reps, right? Because if you set up a program and your reps aren't going to be participating in it, there's no point, right?
Yeah.
And you could try all the things in the world. We had some early clients who are no longer customers now, just because they didn't have that culture. Right. They tried everything under the sun. They did like the gamification piece. Right. They tried like, getting these people to come in person. Right. They tried setting up a 2-hour block where everyone comes in and they do breakout rooms and practice together. So tried everything under the sun, and they just couldn't get their reps to do it because leadership, that's where it all starts, right? Leadership wasn't even bought into this, right? So what was being communicated from the reps, from leadership, was different from what was being communicated by the sales enablement team.
Yeah.
Right. So when there's that disconnect, nothing happens. But, with our successful customers, we typically see like that early alignment between leadership and enablement, right? Usually the CRO is in lockstep with their VP of enablement, and they're both working towards the same goal of, hey, how do we get all our reps upskilled on this new product or this new feature launch? Or, maybe they just hired 100, 200 reps this year, and they need to get everyone up to speed as soon as possible. So there's different, change management initiatives that people use Hyperbound for. And I'll give you like a really simple example, right? We had a customer recently. They had 2,600 reps around the globe, right? Different regions, different languages, right? Different methodologies, different products. And the company was releasing 27 new products this year,
Yeah.
right? You can imagine. So 27 new products, 2,500 reps across all these different languages and methodologies. And they had 300 managers that they had to enable on all these products as well, right? So typically what they would have done to run a certification across all these people is, they would get all these managers in a room, right? Do like a PowerPoint session, and they're like, all right, good luck. Go teach this to all your reps, and hopefully this works out. And with Hyperbound, they actually got a chance to build out different scenarios for each of those 27 products, right? Deploy them to all these reps without any managers, having to get involved, right? The enablement team was able to do this by themselves, and then use the managers as a way to kind of look at that data and build a strategy for their team for the rest of the year, right? Um, so what at the end of it, they got like hundreds of hours of role plays, and there's so much data hidden beneath that too, right? It tells you like, hey, which team is struggling at what products, right? Where are the areas of weakness? Is it a problem with sales acumen? Is it a problem with technical acumen? Is it product acumen, business acumen? Like where are the reps struggling the most? And then how can we build a program for the rest of the year to make sure every rep has their own personalized training program?
That's cool. That's cool, right? Like basically saying, hey, we noticed that you were struggling, maybe not struggling, but these are some areas that you could improve. And by improving here, you're going to see greater results. Let's build a custom program specific for you, or you go through, I'm making stuff up, like warm-ups every day, and then like, one full tall a week or something. It's like around a specific product or around a specific um, set of discovery questions, right? And then now all of a sudden you're basically skill stacking these people over time, right? You're slowly improving each and every skill that's involved in being a rep to the point where now they're going to be, a much higher performing rep.
Absolutely. And what took them 8 months to do before, Harrison, to certify that many reps? They certified them in 2 months, and also got the data that allowed them to plan out the rest of the year,
Yeah.
right? Whereas before they were just flying blind. So that was the big unlock for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think too, like a lot of people listening to this may be like, wow, that's great for a really big company, but like we have 10 reps. It's like, well, if you have 10 reps, like all the more reason you should also probably be working with that because each rep is responsible for 10% probably of your revenue. So there's like more reason to coach them. And I think that is, and probably if you have 10 reps, you are probably underwater as a founder managing them or as an early sales leader managing them. And you're probably wearing so many different hats. Like to have something where you can, I don't want to call it offload the coaching because that's absolutely not what you're doing here because you still have to coach. But you are supplementing your coaching capabilities, you're supplementing your training that you're doing. And I think that's just, really interesting. And I think if you do it at the early days, you're just going to see much more success in the long run because you're going to build that culture early.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. So I know we're getting close to time. I know one question I know other people are probably thinking, which is you probably get this objection all the time. How could you possibly make a persona that embodies who we're selling to? Right? Like, well, I sell to scientists, and these scientists are so specific, and all of their research needs that they're doing are so broad, and they could be doing all of these different things. They're going to ask me a million different, really super technical questions about their particular science. How could you possibly make an AI that can handle that?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. And Harrison, there isn't like one answer to that question. It's really an amalgamation of, first of all, the technology itself has gotten to a point where these models can be trained on tons and tons of data, right? And this was not possible before, right? There was actually an unlock in the last year that allowed these models to be trained on significantly more data. And that's what allowed these models to get more realistic as well, and get like get down to the nooks and crannies of these different personas that you're talking about, right? In fact, Hyperbound in specific, we've actually trained our models on nearly 2.2 million hours of sales calls, right? Across a variety of different industries and personas, right? And you'll be surprised, man, when you go onto Hyperbound and set up a bot, you can build a scientist persona in a matter of 3 minutes, and it's scary real, right? Down to like the AI will be able to speak to like the terminology of that industry, right? It will bring up it'll bring up acronyms that you might not even understand. You might need to search it up. Like it's crazy. I've seen all kinds of things, right? We actually have a customer that in the healthcare space that sells physical therapy services, right? And they have a wide variety of medical terminology, that their reps have to be super familiar with. And they were shocked when they first went on to Hyperbound and built a bot. They were like, "Oh wow, this is like." Some of their reps didn't even. Some of their newer reps who just joined, right? The first time they talked to the bot, they were like, "Wait, what does that mean?" And they're like, "That's exactly what we wanted to hear," because it shows that there's space to learn, right? So yeah, it's hard to give you like a super technical answer here. Harrison's a long story, but really, I mean, at the core, what it is, it's the amount of data that's trained on. It's just phenomenal how these models are able uh, to ingest all of that data now.
I was listening to this thing. Jason Lumpkin is like going deep into, for anybody listening, Jason Lumpkin is like CEO of SaaStr. He's a software founder, started a company called EchoSign. He's an investor as well, pretty popular in the tech community. And he's started really going deep on AI recently. And he's sharing all of his learnings, like basically like building in public and building AI within his company in public. And one of the things that he keeps coming back to is like the AI is not good if you don't train it, right? It's like out of the box, it's fine, but like the real value comes from constantly iterating it, training on it, adding content to it, adding these resources, probably practicing, right? And like really digging into it to build it to be what you need it to be. So it's probably not this like magic button that you can press and all of a sudden revenue shoots out the other end. But if you spend the time to invest in it, you will get much greater results on the output, right? And I think it's really interesting to think about it that way. It's like training an employee, right? It's like almost like you have a employee who's going to go and role play with every single one of your reps on an ongoing basis and give you all of that feedback. Like you can't just like tell that employee, "Hey, go have fun." But you'd have to train them, and you'd have to coach the trainer as well, right? It's like I imagine it's somewhat similar here.
Right. Yeah, and as a whole too, when customers deploy Hyperbound into their orgs, Harrison, like the AI is also, getting smarter over time, right? It's starting to collect data on, hey, what works for your org, right? Where are the performance gaps for a brand new rep that usually comes in? Like what are the typical things that they struggle with the most? Right? Like what are top performer traits that you and how is like good evolving over time, right? It allows you to kind of build these models that maybe like you don't even have right now. Most companies, if I asked you, like if you go to any company, this is the best way to stump any sales leader, by the way. This works really well on every disco. I ask them, "Hey, what does good look like for you guys?" Right? And they don't have an answer. They almost never have an answer, right? And the way I look at Hyperbound is that's exactly what we're trying to help you develop, a model for what good looks like. And that takes time. It takes experimentation, right? It's not something where I can just like throw in all your gong calls, have AI analyze, and boom, it tells you what good looks like. Good is also evolving over time, right?
Mhm.
Like good pre-COVID versus post-COVID probably looks very different, right? And as a sales leader, that's difficult to keep track of at scale, especially when you have like hundreds or even thousands of reps in the case of that customer I was talking about earlier. It's literally impossible to manage all of this and maintain that like model of what good looks like.
I
I
think
think that's a great. I know we all have hard stops here in a minute. I think is a really solid way to end here, which is you to take away how can you identify what good looks like for your organization, coaching in general, right? Identify what good looks like, and then figure out how do you coach that across your team. And Yeah, if people want to know more about Hyperbound, what should they do?
Yeah, the best way to try it out is if you actually go to hyperbound.ai, that's hyperbound.ai. There's actually a free demo available on our website. So you can go just hit try free demo. And there are 9 bots that are publicly available. There's cold call role plays you can do, there's warm calls, there's discovery calls. So yeah, feel free to go try it out. It's super fun. I promise it's not like talking to Siri. It's definitely much more realistic than that. I will also say they are some of the rudest bots on the planet. So I apologize in advance if one of them shuts you down or they hang up on you. They can be a little bit dicey.
Awesome. Well, Sai, great to have you on the show and look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.